Guys, today I want to go over some early to late stage worm guard defense. So I'm going to show you guys once the guy locks in the initial lasso on the lapel, how we can deal with that, a couple ways that we can deal with that, and then once he actually starts to feed lapels through and actually connect to the worm guard, how we can look to start escaping from there. So as always, guys, if you subscribe to this channel, thank you guys so much. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment in the comment section below, and share this video with your friends. Actually take the belt off for this one, so we don't need it. And Juan's gonna start to set up the worm guard. So we'll look at just the full worm guard first, okay? If you guys are unfamiliar, he's gonna lasso my near side lapel, and then this is just the basic worm guard, okay? And there's obviously a lot of different variations from there. But we're gonna look at the basic worm guard today. He's gonna lasso nice and deep, shooting his foot all the way past my hip. And then from here, he's gonna look to start feeding the lapel underneath my leg to his outside hand, get a nice tight grip, and then the other hand comes palm down, and then we get to this position, okay? And as you can see, I'm pretty well entangled here, okay? Even though my hands are free, it could be tricky to get out of this position, especially if the guy knows what he's doing. Okay, he can start looking to pendulum the leg, feed a deep de la hiva, go into back takes from here, really easy to off balance and sweep people, because the lapel is essentially like multiplies your leverage tremendously, okay, from here, as opposed to him just trying to pull me down with a collar. The fact that he's all locked in with the leg in my lapel, he starts feeding it through, he maximizes the use of the lapel incredibly and connects it to multiple parts of my body and his body. So it's essentially just maximizes his power and his control of my posture and base in this case. So let's look at some early defense, okay, and then we'll look at when he actually does feed the lapel. So the best way to stop this, guys, is going to be just to avoid it altogether. So whenever you see that a guy starts looking to open the lapels, commonly if it's tucked in, he'll usually open it either with the hands or the feet. You want to try as best as you can to get an angle on him, so even as he does have the lapel, he falls supine. So he does have the lapel, get a hold of the legs and create an angle where it's difficult for him to actually throw a lasso into the lapel and get that initial lapel lasso. Experienced guys and kind of Gumby guys that know how to, that have flexible guards and stuff here, they're going to start to entangle your lapel in various different ways. He might just put a foot in here, like kind of like a spider guard here. He might put that other foot in like a spider guard hook here. He's going to start to entangle the lapel and make it difficult. So as best you can, whenever you see that he starts to open up the lapel and starts to loosen up one of your lapels, you want to start getting an angle on this guy and making it difficult for him to actually get that grip initially on your lapel. Now, let's say he does start to set up the lapel lasso, okay, we end up here. One of my favorite things to do, okay, this is as we get early on in this, one of my favorite things that we can possibly do is look to knee cut on the opposite side of the lapel. Once he gets that lapel in, when he goes to throw the lasso hook in, he's gonna have to raise his right hip off the floor. Okay, so that means that to some degree, his left hip is gonna be down. When I see that he starts to lasso and it's too late for me to avoid it, and this left knee is still down, that's when I'm gonna come in with my hand. I'm gonna start to look to step over, push that knee down to the floor, step over that leg, and then from here, start coming into knee cut pass situations. Immediately, I wanna look to establish a grip as high as possible on the collar, possibly thumb behind the neck over here. Okay, because when he tries to now recover his position here, it makes it difficult and I can start to stick close to him here because of this lapel grip. Now when he tries to do anything with this lasso, even if he tries to take me in that direction, it's pretty hard, okay, because I'm in tight and I can start to look to inch my way forward towards an underhook if he decides to insist on this grip, okay? If he's experienced, he's gonna know that from here doesn't really have that lasso. He's gonna start to frame on my shoulders, and then from here we work into traditional, just typical knee cut pass scenario, okay? But if he decides to hang on to that grip, we can start to slide our elbow in through, down to the ground, get control of his head, and then from here we're in a really, really strong pass position. So if we see As he's initially looking to lace my lapel here, notice what happens. His hip, okay, has to be out in this direction. When he wants to actually set up the worm guard, he's going to do the exact opposite. He's going to bring his hip out in this direction. Okay, now the knee cut's not available. But as he starts that movement, and he's in this stance here, hand comes into the hip, other hand comes to the knee, I look to immediately step over the leg. Okay, that's key. I want to step over the leg, and then from here I drop into a knee cup scenario. I initially make a grip on the collar to keep myself close to him and try to be relatively head over head here. Okay, the closer I can get chest to chest and the more my head's over his head, easier it's going to be for me to actually be strong and feel strong in this position. Now I can start to work my hand in and start looking to get to the head, and then eventually we'll work our way through with just traditional knee cut pass. So you'll find that if you're able to get it early and you can step over the opposite leg and knee cut to the opposite side of the lasso, you're going to have good success there early on. Now, what if Juan throws the lasso in and then he shifts his hip in this direction? Now, when I go to knee cut him here, he just moves his hips, and then it's hard for me to actually get it. Okay? So, from here, this might look a little bit fancy, but this is one of my favorite options and one of the best options, I think. And it's not actually that difficult, but it's for me to cartwheel over, okay? So before he starts feeding the lapels in, his hip comes out in this direction. Now from here, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my hand on the floor, my other hand is gonna follow, and then I'm just gonna cartwheel over and get here. Now, you'll see that he's lost the lasso, and we can immediately start coming in, getting a hold of the pants, and start looking to get an angle on our opponent. So he comes in, throws that lasso in, his hips go in the direction they should, the knee cut's not available anymore, we step 1, 2, and we come out, and we end up in this position, and then we can start looking to pass from there, okay? When he lassos the lapel, he squares his hips up, and now he starts to feed the lapel underneath my leg here. Okay, now is where things start to get tricky. As he makes a conversion, he switches that grip off. We'll just turn in this direction. You'll find that you're pretty well stuck in this position. Even if, and I see this happen a lot, even if I'm able to stuff his leg here, this isn't gonna serve me much at all, okay? If I try to knee cut here, really can't do it. Okay, he has too much control over my leg, and there's a lot of good things that he can start doing from this position. So I would not suggest stuffing the leg. Instead, we have to attack the grip. So if we turn here, we have to attack his grip. There will usually always be a little bit of lapel at the very end. He actually wants a tighter grip, so the more he can feed this lapel, more control he has over my posture. The looser it is, the more I can start looking to maybe pop this out. So he doesn't want to be controlling at the very end of the lapel, because it's pretty easy for it to slip through the fingers. So usually what guys will do is they'll come in and they'll take this grip palm facing down. Okay, this is the classic worm guard. Now when I go to pull, he has a pretty robust grip. He closes that elbow in tight. It's pretty robust here. It's gonna be hard for me to actually pull this straight out. But there is this loose end of the lapel available for me. So I can start coming in and feeding it to my hand. Now what's important here is I want to actually make contact with his hand, with my hand to his hand. I don't want to grab here loosely where he closes down this elbow. It's hard for me to actually break it. I want to try to get close to his hand here. Even as he holds the elbow tight here, I can break this grip. Because I break, because his grip's palm down, I break to the opening of the fingers. Again, he has to close this elbow down. He wants to straighten his wrist here and have a strong, strong grip. But the fingers open in this direction, okay? It's hard for him to have a good grip if he goes palm up, okay? This is pretty easy for me to break this way. So most guys are gonna go palm down, really close the elbow and keep a tight connection here. I just reach in, I pull, and I strip that grip away, okay? Now if I don't wanna get tangled up again, I need to start moving away, making it difficult for him to access my lapels, and then from here, go into my passing, however I choose to do so, Okay, so kind of 3 stages of the worm guard that we can look to address. First one, he comes in, he starts to get that initial lasso in. I do a good job at from here, posting the hip and catching him while he's on his left hip. Okay, the hip opposite of the lapel. And then from here we start working into knee cut passes like we just saw earlier. If I feel that he switches his hip and he moves out in this direction, I'm gonna hold that secondary leg, and then from here I'm gonna step 1, 2, 3, and come over. Okay? Third option is I feel that he laces it all the way through and he gets to the full worm guard. Now from here, I can start looking to come in, get a hold of that grip, make contact with his hand, and we look to rip that grip free and free ourselves from the worm guard. Now, if I feel that for whatever reason, I cannot seem to break this grip, what's making this grip robust is him closing that elbow in. So I look to reach in, pull this elbow here, and I create an opening. Now, 1, that might weaken the grip to where I can just strip it off. Or 2, if for whatever reason this guy's just crazy strong like Juan, we look to create this opening and I pull my leg free and we backstep. Okay, now I'm back in that initial lasso. His hip is usually going to be on this side for a split second, and then we come up down and we look to get back into that knee cut position. Okay, so just a few ways, guys, that we can look to address the worm guard. Again, early prevention is going to be the best way to go, but obviously, like anything, there's going to be days where you get caught in a position that's hard to get out of. You have to have some answers from there. So there's just a few basic options that we can use to address the basic worm guard. Thanks, guys.